Welcome to RPG Book Club. On this episode, we travel to our local black box theater for a production of Xenogears, a tale of robots and gender norms. Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
I'm Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
And I'm Michael Spiffle-Webbin.
And today we'll be playing chapters 51 through 56 of Xenogears from Shot Down through Paradise. Stopping after Elly is captured by Krelian. And Spoilers. And
Elly gets captured.
The main reason I picked this to be the place where we stopped is A, it was at the end of my video called the Anima Relics Part 1 and 2. So I figured that would be a good place to start. Also because the last line is Fei is like, I don't know what Krelian was up to, but I intend to find out, which is my favorite stupid-ass cliche.
Yeah, it's like the best to be continued possible.
Yeah.
One thing led to another.
Yeah, so before we get started, how is everyone's week?
Mine was okay. Not much different from usual. I have a 4-day weekend after the next week, and I'm really excited. I'm gonna go see VNV Nation in concert, and
Nice.
I'm super fucking stoked because they are my favorite.
Nice.
So,
I am excited for you.
Yeah, I don't go to concerts very often. So,
Yeah. Want to know what I'm doing week after next?
what?
What's up?
I'm playing Legend of Dragoon with you guys, and I'm so freaking excited.
Sam, was this entire podcast just a way to get me to fucking play Legend of Dragoon?
I mean, it was a way to get me. The main reason I was doing it was for me to play all of these games that have been on my backlog. So I was resistant to putting Legend of Dragoon up as one of my games because I'm like, no, it's too popular, blah, 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 blah. But then, like, everyone that I said that sentence to, they're like, oh, I've always wanted to play it, but I never have. I'm like, I guess it's not that popular. It's just super cult classic. Everyone who knows it loves it.
It's popular to you, Sam.
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
popular to
what
me.
matters.
So I'm
Your
super
mom thinks it's
excited.
popular.
It was super duper close for like all the way until like last Wednesday, and then last Wednesday our last two holdouts voted for Legend of Dragoon, and then we got a new patron for Legend of Dragoon. Our good friend Griffin from JRPG.mo. He became a patron this week and dropped us some money for it.
Moe?
I don't know. It's MOE.
Yeah,
He lives in Japan, so it's probably Moe.
Is it Moe or is it like Mo from The Simpsons? You know?
Hey, this is JRPG.mo.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so Legend of Dragoon won. I was going to wait till the end, but like literally that's all that's been on my mind. That's what my week is just
the poll was nail-bitingly close, and Sam was starting to get a little bit worried.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, Shining Force is great, and like that's why I put it up because I don't want to mind to play it. But like, I thought I had this in the bag to play Legend of Dragoon.
But in the end, Jeb Bush won the election.
Ken actually expressed interest in Let's Playing the other one,
Shining Force.
Yeah, that one. I should know that because there's a priest ability in World of Warcraft now called Shining Force.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it knocks everyone back.
Nice.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, it knocks him back.
Yes. But anyway.
I love Spiffle's his decision to pretend like he knows what we're talking about when we talk about WoW.
But anyway, yeah. So go on, Spiffle. How was your week?
Pretty. Oh boy, what even happened? I don't know. Whole lot of bullshit, but like good. Okay, I know what happened starting on Wednesday, like on Saturday. So Saturday through Tuesday, all I've been doing is electoral work out here in the East Bay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Canvassing and organizing and phone banking and posting and talking and doing all sorts and going to events. That's all I've been doing because there were a few ballot initiatives and candidates that we were really excited for. So I literally have no memory of my life before Saturday. And I was doing shit before that too, but I lucked out actually. I was off work on Saturday, which is unusual, and I was off work on Monday, which was unusual.
Nice.
So it was really nice. Yeah, I got to do stuff like all day Monday, which was really cool. Anyway, then, Tuesday night was the election, and there were like election parties and stuff, and woof, quite the election. Some good things, some bad things.
In the end, I feel happy about it because there was like a whole lot of blue shifting going on, although none of it was here in the big stuff in Texas. I mean, in Harris County, there were 19 female black judges elected, which is really big. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, and the composer of the Funimation score of Dragon Ball Z got elected.
He's a state senator now
in Dallas, which is amazing.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, he beat out like a super duper libertarian. But up here in California, the two things I was mostly campaigning on were Proposition 10, which got annihilated, which I expected that, honestly.
Yeah.
And then this councilwoman, not councilwoman, sorry, assemblywoman candidate named Javanka Beckles, and annoyingly, so she's like the big fish. Like, we were campaigning for a bunch of stuff, and actually, most of our little stuff won. Yeah. Proposition O and P and Y, which are all just good shit for local governments. Those all passed. The rent board won. All 5 of the rent board won. A lot of our smaller candidates won, but the two big fish, one of them went down in flames, and one of them, annoyingly, we don't know yet because it takes a long time to count all the votes in an election. Yeah. And in a close election, all the votes matter.
Yeah.
So she's losing currently, but we're like, no, we're going to wait until every single one of these fucking votes is counted to see what happens. That's all that's been going on.
My favorite thing that happened in the election doesn't involve me whatsoever, but it involves our son Matt, and it was such a exhilarating thing to watch. So much like Beto versus Cruz, that was going back and forth all day, like up 500 points, down 500 points, back and forth for the governor race in Wisconsin. And so then right at the very end, Milwaukee, aka the only city in Wisconsin, they hadn't turned in their votes yet. So the whole day it was neck and neck, like only winning by 500 at sometimes, like super duper close. And so then there towards the end, Evers, the guy we were rooting for, he was like ahead by like 1,000, which is a big deal in Wisconsin where there are 500 people. And so he was like ahead by a little bit, and then Milwaukee turned in their votes and added 37,000 votes for Evers, which then amazingly put him at winning by 1.2%. And about 6 months ago, because Jill Stein in Wisconsin was where she tried to get the recount for Hillary back in the day, Walker was mad, so he passed a rule that said you only can ask for a recount if your votes are within 1% of vote of the other people. And at 1.2%, he now can't ask for a recount because of his own stupid rule, and that just makes me super happy.
Yes, karma.
Yeah, so it's good overall.
It's fucking great.
Like, I don't feel we won anything big, and I don't think this was the take our country back moment. But this was definitely
we have the house now, so that's helpful.
Yeah, which is nice.
It's not a huge it's a big deal, but it's not like massive. And I mean, I knew we weren't going to get the Senate back, and as much as I wanted Beto to win, it was going to be one of those Christmas miracle things in my mind.
Yeah.
Where it's Santa Claus is real and Beto has won the Senate.
It ended up being
200,000 votes, which I know I just said 1,000 votes in Wisconsin was big. 200,000 votes in Texas is not big.
In Texas, that is not big.
That's like one suburb of Houston. Convincing them to vote differently would have changed the election.
Yeah, it's nuts. And overall, it's I never put any stock in the whole liberal Democrat. There's going to be a blue wave. I'm like, fuck off. No, there's not. You are way too pompous. These people believe way too much in their own smug sense of morality, right? I'm like, no, like, you're going to be disappointed. I figured it was going to be a mixed bag, and it was. The real news, I think, though, is that aside from actual people being elected, a lot of really progressive ballot measures and initiatives got passed, which is really cool, especially, and this is very important, especially in red states. Like, that's the thing. Like, Democrats need to fucking look and be like, oh, we can't win our shitty milquetoast candidates, but they pass bills to raise the minimum wage and increase labor rights. Oh, it's almost like a farther left platform or an actual platform at all, and a vision for the future would have been good. People in red states are voting for minimum wage increases and labor shit. Like, those are left policies, right? They vote for that shit, but they won't vote for a Democrat because the Democrats fucking suck ass. Yeah. So like that's the takeaway as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, life goes on, and American politics is a brutal, stupid, fucking bullshit shit show, much like the video game Xenogears.
I'm so glad you agree with me.
Election day is a land of contrasts.
Exactly. So let's talk about this damn Xenogears. So we are now on disc 2. I know that y'all heard disc 2 was different. I didn't know how much y'all heard it was different. Did y'all know that it was going to be like literally a dude sitting in a chair with a PowerPoint behind him?
I didn't know it was going to be that far. I knew it was like people refer to it as like the visual novel half of Xenogears. That's why when we got the visual novel of our saving Nissan in chapter 1, I thought that's what the whole game was going to be like in chapter 2. It was just like a still image with text over it, not this like chill, like, let me tell you a story type.
Like they're even sitting in like what looks like a rocking chair. Or could be a rocking chair. My friend sent me shout out to my friend Ruth, who is apparently was into Xenogears as a kid. So she sent me this article on Kotaku, and I vaguely recall having read it before, but it didn't really like register when I read it the first time because I'd never played Xenogears, and I was just like,
right, so you had no reference.
This is an interesting video game history tidbit. But it wasn't just like a lack of money. Like they had a 2-year time frame to make the game, and then it turned out like a bunch of their devs were new and had to be like taught how to do various programming things for the PlayStation and stuff like that, and art stuff. And then they started coming up on their deadline and were told, hey, why don't you just end at disc 1? And they were like, Takahashi was like, no, the story has to continue for at least a little bit. Like, it would suck if it ended at disc 1. But we can do it this way, and that'll make it so that we meet the deadline.
Which is bizarre, but so here in a little bit, we do some sciencey bullshit and we save the day, but then don't. He could have, instead of like, let's do the whole disc 2 as a visual novel, he could have given us the regular game up to that point. I think that would have been an okay Xenogears Part 1 to then, as long as they promised him a sequel or something, but who knows?
Overall, I think, I don't know, have either of y'all seen the musical Into the Woods?
No.
I have not. I've wanted to, but I have not.
First of all, it's the only good musical. Second of all, it's just playing. Second of all, it's a 2-act musical, and the acts are extremely different. And I remember when I was a kid, my high school put on the musical, and I was not in high school yet, so I wasn't involved in it. We went to see it and totally blew my mind. Very big inspiration on me as a child artistically. Even though I was already a decent fan of musicals, I was like, holy shit. And the thing is, it's long as hell. So I saw it like twice. And then I saw it a third time on like a Monday or Tuesday night with my dad. And after the first act, so the thing is, the first act is a complete story. 100%. And it ends with literally a song about how everyone lives happily ever after. And act 2 is about how they didn't actually. And it gets fucked up. And so after act 1, my dad's like, Michael, it's really late. It's a weeknight. It's a school night. Also, I hate Act 2. It's depressing. Let's just leave now at the end of Act 1 because it's happy, and let's just go home. And I was like, but Dad, you're missing the entire point. Anyway, I feel like the difference, of course, is that Act 1 would still be a good musical, whereas Disc 1 of this game is not even, I don't think, would pass the bar to be a particularly good game. Yeah. But even if it was super good, if you don't have Disc 2, you're definitely missing Xenogears.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why, like, I think, like, it would take, like, some tweaking to make... assuming Disc 1 would have ended at the climax, which we're going to get to. I promise we'll start talking about the plot soon. But if it would have ended at that climax, would have taken some cleaning up of the foreshadowing of the brain ball and stuff like that to like hint towards the meat of Disc 2 that's coming. I think that could have been a decent, especially if they marketed it as Xenogears Part 1, Part 2 coming to in the year 2000 or whatever. Like... Could have been good, but I'm not mad with what we got because it's not just visual novel out of nowhere. It's like poetry. There's parts of it where they're just like, there's no way to make this sound good. Here's an exposition dump. But most of it is like cerebral, which is not what I was expecting, but was actually pretty great.
See, that's the thing. They must have found out that they were going to have to make this artistic. They must have found out that they were going to have to make this decision relatively early on because it seems very intentional, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I know low-key it wasn't, but it's like they figured it out early enough that they're like, okay, if we're going to have to do this, we're going to fucking do art with it.
Yeah.
Right? So anyway, here's how this fucking game works. All right. So, after you get the save, you get a blank screen and you see some text appear on the screen and it's like, dreaming, I was dreaming, ... something like that. I actually took a picture. I don't feel like looking at it. So he's like, ... a dream, a long dream, a dream of 1,000 years or something. And then the screen fades in and it's Fei, and he's sitting in a chair, sort of a little bit to the right. It basically looks like, it's theatrical basically. It looks like a stage basically. And like, imagine you're looking at a stage.
They do like cutscenes on it as if it were a stage. It like becomes a stage play at this point, which is pretty cool.
It's really cool. So imagine basically you could make a school production of Xenogears where the actors are acting in the foreground at each other, and then in the background on a screen is projected CG robot fights.
I almost want to do that now and like remake.
It would be great. It'd be like the weirdest, most
stupid
avant-garde bullshit play ever.
Remake Disc 1 in this style and like just have a projector to throw up key moments from Disc 1 and have just a 5-person version of Xenogears.
Yeah. Because most of this is just people talking anyway, right?
Yeah.
So it's Faye sitting in a chair and he's like, I was having dreams, and he's just narrating. He's like floating in like a void. And again, he's like center right. He's like a little bit stage. He's a little bit to the right if you're looking at the stage, sort of canting off towards the center, and then sometimes behind him. So again, forward and to the right, there'll be like diagonal, like floating in 3D space, an image will appear. So he's like, and then we went to Nissan, and it'll like show an image of them in Nissan, and then he's like, and then he's basically showing you a slideshow of his vacation, basically, like adults do with each other.
Yeah, these are all of the embarrassing photos of SpongeBob from the Christmas party.
So anyway, what does he actually talk about? So Faye's dreaming, and he dreams that he used to be a painter, Lacan, which we knew, but now we know it for sure, and he knows it for sure, and he's painting the Nissan mother Sophia, who's actually named Elly, is interesting. Apparently they go way back. So he's painting Sophia, and he's like, oh, Sophia, I'd love to paint you. And then he's all like, oh, I gotta go I have to take a trip to my hometown. And she's like, why? And he's like, I gotta get more paint. And she's like, you didn't bring enough paint when you got here? And he's like, duh. So he leaves. But it turns out he was just making up an excuse because he like didn't want to finish painting because he wanted to spend more time with Sophia or whatever. And he's like, Faye's like, I remembered a zillion lifetimes. Something that Faye picked up on, and I also picked up on before Faye did. So it's cool that they mention it in universe, is that Faye's name is different every time. He's Faye. he's Lacan, he's Joe Schmo, but Ellie is always named Ellie. And he always loves Ellie in every lifetime, no matter what. And these memories, he dreams like a zillion different dreams in a zillion different lifetimes, and these cause him to realize his purpose. There's some poetic philosophizing about the connection between dreams and memories and stuff, and it's cool. But yeah, that's what happens. Then something really interesting happens. You switch over to Ellie, and you get almost an identical scene with Ellie. You get her saying, "Dreams. I dreamed a dream. Is it a memory or is it a dream?" Like mimicking what Fei just said, like the same fucking words. And then you see the same scene, but one thing I love is it's got different camera angles, and they don't break the 180 rule, which is nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, when it was Fei, the painter, when it was Lacan the painter, it was from behind Lacan's back. So you see Lacan's back and the painting, and then in the distance you see Sophia because he's looking at, it's like from his point of view ish. So he's looking at her. But for this scene, you see it's more like Sophia's back and she's looking at Fei, which is really cool. Anyway, what we learn in this scene is that Sophia and Lacan had been close for a really long time, but recently he started pulling away and putting up like metaphysical walls. They don't explain this, but I'm guessing it's because he's involved in the war effort and is like, I'm in the war, you're the mother of Nissan, we can't really be close. We have more important things we need to do. I'm guessing that's why. So that's why why she asked him to paint her, because she's like, "Hey, Fei, instead of contributing to the war effort, how about you paint a picture of me? Because this is the part of the game where it starts to get astronomically heteronormative, and women are selfish, and all they want to do is spend time with their man."
Yeah.
Speaking of astronomically heteronormative, you get some pixel dick in just a second. Yes. So this game is rated T for teen, but apparently you can have a full frontal pixel nudity of a man, which is cool. I always appreciate it when there's male nudity.
What I think happened is, so Square sends this game over to the ESRB, and all the moms and dads sit down to play it, and they're just like, I get it. After like a couple playing a little bit, they're like, this is totally fine. And I have no idea what happens in disc 2.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I mean, to me, it looked more like a Ken bump, you know, on his crotch, where
that's
it's
what
like,
I thought at first, and then I zoomed in.
There's not enough pixels to tell anyway.
Oh, it did zoom in, didn't it? Yeah. Okay.
No, it didn't zoom in. I zoomed.
Zoomed in.
Yeah,
okay.
Because of course I was curious if there was a pixel dick or not, and it's like
I have to know.
It's like a little rectangle. Like have you seen Big Mouth, the Netflix show? I
have not. No.
Okay. Well, have you seen the Simpsons movie?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So when Bart is on the skateboard and then you see his dick there at the end, is just a tiny little like rectangle. That's what Fei has going on here.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Also, he's ripped.
It's cute.
Yeah, that's his cute side.
He's got a cute side to him. So I always appreciate when there's male nudity in media, because usually there's a double standard where like you'll see naked women, but then if there's a dick, it'll be like covered up by something, and I guess that's because of the male gaze, and the male gaze wants to see a naked woman but not a naked man.
Oh yeah.
So anytime I see a dick in something, I'm like, finally some equity, right? Let's get some equal opportunity nudity up in here. This game does the opposite. You get some Fei nudity, but you don't get any Ellie because she's curled up in a way that covers herself.
Yeah.
Though we did get,
so that's nice.
We did get Emeralda earlier, so
that's true.
Maybe it is equal.
That's true. So anyway, so Fei and Ellie were rescued. Remember, they crashed in the forest, right? So they got rescued by the heretofore unseen third sage. His name is Taura, and they've been healing in a Bacta tank for like 3 weeks. And the Bacta tank is the same shit that Krellian was using in his lab. It's like nano machines, blah, blah, blah. It's the same research. You actually find out that Tara was the one who taught Krellian the art of nano machines. I love how, like, complex scientific practices are like things that can be taught from one person to another master and apprentice, the same way that like karate can in this game.
Which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, of all of the like weird sci-fi things, I think the like a scientist is just a really good blacksmith type idea is like one of my favorite things about JRPGs, because it's in everyone. It's not just in Xenogears. It's like
it's like science doesn't come out of collective effort and progress over many different fields over centuries. No, even though most of this society is at one level of technology, this one guy can just learn how to do nanotechnology.
Yeah.
Science is magic, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so Fei wakes up first, and Saitan's there, and they shoot the shit. And I forget, they don't say anything important. And then Elly wakes up, and as soon as Elly comes out of the door, they give each other this serious look. And I think what they're thinking in their heads is, okay, I just dreamed about how I've been in love with you for 5,000 years, but I'm not sure if you know that you've been in love with me for 50,000 years. And what did you dream about? So it's like they're both giving each other these very like, oh god kind of looks.
What did you dream about? I dreamt about eating a sheep and then my pillow was gone.
So they go outside to the forest for a rather disappointing heart-to-heart. Fei's just like, you seem different somehow. And she's like, I look different? And he's like, no, your affect is different. I don't know. Let me look at your eyes. Anyway, and Elly is like,
only small part that we missed is Saitan did show up. He's like, oh yeah, I just followed you to your smoking hole in this forest, and surprisingly, the bad guys didn't think to do this, so we're safe.
Yeah. So Elly is like, hey, I don't remember what happened after the crash, but I remember someone calling my name, and then something warm being placed on top of me, and she says it like it's just like the sweetest fucking. Oh, and then she's like, thank you, Fei. Like, it's so sweet. And I'm like, who? Yeah, you both crashed into the forest and you were cold, so we put a blanket on you. Like, that's not something only your true love would do. That's something literally anybody would do.
Yeah.
Hooray for basic human decency, I guess. And again, I guess if you're a cishet white man, well, I guess Fei's not white, but it's a Japanese game, so he's Japanese. I guess if you're a cishet generic JRPG man, basic human decency gets applauded. But yeah, hold on. Let me check my screenshot. See if there's any good lines from this part. There's a part where Tara goes to Fei, hey, quit staring at the naked girl and come over here.
Yeah.
Also, at one point he goes, this is no research facility. It's a man's hideaway.
Yeah, in quotes.
Yeah. So anyway, when they get back, there's these two weird subplots. Like, the main game's not going on yet, but there's these two things that are both kind of equally important subplots. The sage is like, hey, this Bacta can remove your limiters, so maybe we can remove the limiter from everyone on Earth. This is definitely a good idea, and we won't question it.
Because doing invasive medical procedures to literally everyone on Earth without their consent is what real science is all about.
Yeah, it's basically the which one is it? It's basically the green ending of Mass Effect 3.
Yes.
Which, even though it's a secret ending that requires extra effort to get, is the wrong ending. I'm sorry. That is
that is the
unethical.
It doesn't take anything extra to do. It's the wrong ending. I can go into the cool ass way that they do it, but I feel that'll take me a while. But
but hold on though. But you do have to have like your galaxy readiness at a certain point to unlock the green ending, right?
Nope. When you walk in, it gives you because I'll try and cut this real short. So the entire series of games, you have Paragon and Renegade. Paragon is blue, Renegade is red. Red is always bad, blue is always good. So you get up to the end, and it's like, hey, do you want to destroy the Reapers? Pick the red ending. That's so bad. Or do you want to work with the Reapers? That's the blue ending. That's good. Or do you want this green ending where everybody can be happy? But the secret is the green ending turns everyone into a Reaper. The blue ending kills you and the Reapers win. The red ending that you think is the bad ending is the actual good ending, and that's the only one that makes any sense. And so the game is using its own colors to quote unquote indoctrinate the player into picking an ending that's better for the Reapers than for the humans, and it's great. It's the best ending in video games, and I love it.
Disagree. Indoctrination theory is stupid. The blue ending is the only ethical choice.
No, literally the blue ending is what I have to go deeper into it. So the blue ending is what the elusive man was trying to do. The main boss of the last 2 games, he was trying to control the Reapers and be the Reapers for the new world and use their technology for good. But we saw for 2 games that didn't work. The green ending is what Saren was trying to do in the first game. We knew that one didn't work. Blowing up the Nazis, that's the right answer. You blow up the Nazis. That's the good ending. You, my friend,
and all of the Geth.
The only thing that says that it's all of the Geth is the Reapers. That's them trying to trick you. There's nothing that would say that's what it would do. There's
I think
nothing in the universe.
Is stupid. If you take the plot as written, the blue ending is a good ending. Let's go back to Xenogears.
Okay. It's not like this is literally how the plot is written. It's indie film. It's dope. But continue.
Nah. Anyway, it's like the Squall is dead theory of Final Fantasy VIII,
which literally not. But okay,
also makes the game way better.
You guys know I'm not able to follow any of this conversation whatsoever.
Yeah, totally.
That's why I didn't want to go into it.
Now let's talk about Homestuck. So anyway, there's a mass driver nearby, which is basically a big large hat. It's okay in real life. The idea of using like a giant like a giant railgun thing in space to shoot something to another planet as a method of space travel that doesn't require fuel. Is that called a mass driver?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
For some reason, my sci-fi knowledge has escaped me, so I can't remember if it's called a mass driver or if it's a different word. But that's essentially what it is.
Yeah, I'm a fantasy boy, not a sci-fi boy, so I can't help you.
I can't remember if they used the proper word for this idea here or if they made up their own word for it. But anyway. We're going to use this Large Hadron Collider to shoot a little capsule into the atmosphere and disperse the nanomachines everywhere. Thus, again, turning everyone in, doing a non-consensual medical procedure to everybody. Also, the dude gets Fei a wristband that injects Prozac to help him with his depression.
Yeah.
And by that I mean it suppresses his id from coming out.
Yes.
So the other subplot is that Shavat emissaries show up and they're like, Fei, you gotta help us. We're trying to sign a peace treaty between Ave and Kislev, and but Solaris, what's left of them, is attacking. You gotta help us. So Fei goes to do that, and then at this point, Fei just starts doing his normal Fei thing where all he ever does now is be like, but Elly, it's dangerous. But Elly, I care about you. But Elly, be careful. It's dangerous. You can't do it. You're a girl. So Fei goes to do that, and Elly and Saitan go to the mass driver, and then there is Elly and Saitan have a little heart to heart, and Elly just like drops the L bomb out of nowhere. She's like, "I love Fei," and I'm like, "What?"
Yeah,
that happened off screen. Well, I mean, actually, okay, it actually did. It happened while they were both dreaming, so that actually makes sense. They both had a long dream and woke up, having a lot of feelings. So yeah. I get it. We've all been there. Yeah, then Saitan says that Elly has matured like a mother, which is nice. He
says that because she says, I want us to be apart and think about ourselves again, so I can see how I really feel. And that's when Saitan says, you have changed a lot, Elly. You've matured like a mother.
Which, yes, is the theme of Disc 2, is that Elly matures and becomes a mother, because that's what happens when you're a girl and you mature.
Yeah.
So anyway, it turns out that Graf was actually the one who brought Fei and Elly to Tara, and also Graf is Lacan. So basically everybody is Fei at this point. There's 50 different Feis. Graf is not.
And that this reveal, which has been looked at since the very beginning of the game, is the most nothing moment where when I saw it in your notes, it's like that even happened, but I'm I'm scrubbing through the YouTube video right now, and it's just Tara talking to somebody off screen, and then the camera turns and you see that it's Graf, and and instead of saying right Graf, he goes right Lacan, and fades to black, and that's all we got for that whole mystery for the whole game. That's our reveal.
Yep. I love how the amount of time that people live in this universe is just completely arbitrary.
Yeah.
Apparently you can just live for extreme amounts of time, and it's MBD.
Yeah.
So anyway, There's a brain ball scene. There's a lot of brain ball scenes in this part of the game. Although actually, I'm starting to like them a lot more now because they actually make more sense because you understand what they're talking about.
Yeah.
This scene, they're like, he's alive? I thought Ramses got him, and I'm like, y'all, have y'all not realized that Ramses fucking sucks
a lot?
Yeah.
And then they're like, Ellie is the mother, and they're talking with Krellian, and Krellian's like, they're like, Ellie is the mother, we got to get her. Oh, we already have a mother. Why do we need two mothers? And then they're like, let's sick Ramses on him because that clearly works. The brain ball is basically the DNC, and Ramses is Hillary Clinton. They're like, let's try running Ramses in 2020. Maybe it'll work this time. They send Ramses again, and Ramses shows up in the forest to fight Fei, and this is the most like nothing encounter. It's literally like 2 lines of VN that are like, and then Ramses attacked me in the forest, and there's a boss battle that takes 2 seconds, and then it's like VN, and then Ramses left. And it doesn't even have like a cutscene of the robots. It's like it just has and then Ramses said this, you know what I mean, with a still image. Although, frankly,
and what's cool is
I can see how they were choosing what scenes.
It does it on the battle scenes. So like the battle ends, it just pops up text before it even ends the battle. It's like we're not going to go to a different.
If they were having to pick which scenes were important enough to actually animate and which ones not, they made the right choice here because who gives a shit about this scene?
Yeah.
So next, Ellie
they accidentally drove home the Ramses is trash subplot too much in disc 1, where as much as I loved him when he showed up and he was a badass and he had a mysterious secretary way back when, I stopped caring about him all through disc 1 to where he just became a laughable buffoon instead of like, because like in his mind, you're arch rivals, and so that could have been the game, but it didn't. And
I actually care about him a lot as a character, but not in a threatening villain way. I'm just like, honey, you need to get your shit together, and I feel sorry for you. You really need to get therapy. Everyone in this game just needs to get therapy. Yeah. Fei's on Prozac now, so that's going to help. Yeah. So anyway, so Ellie, so then you see a splash screen of the mass driver, and Ellie explains that she went through a dungeon.
Yeah.
She's like, and then you went through a dungeon. You should have seen it. It was great. You can't see it though. And then you had a boss battle.
You don't know this dungeon. She lives in Canada.
It was super exciting. It was really awesome. And then they successfully do the thing. They use the mass driver and they shoot. And there's a nice little scene of like it's basically like in Aurora Borealis, and Ellie's like, at this time of year, at this time of part of the day, in this part of the country, localized entirely inside of Ave. So the Aurora Borealis goes all the way across the world, and you see like the little nanomachines falling like snow everywhere, and it's like, cool, we did it. And then it cross cuts to Fei, who also does the thing, and I sure like what happens here. Apparently nobody noticed that the center of Kislev was a giant ship. I sure noticed when I was, on the Kislev world map.
Right?
But apparently no one else knew that. So they're like, we found out that the administrative center of Kislev was actually a giant fucking spaceship from ancient times. And
Brilliant
it turns
discovery.
out that, so like the Yggdrasil, it's big, right? It's quite big. It's a very large vehicle. Well, turns out the Yggdrasil is the gun of
this
astronomically large town-sized robot. So there's a super fucking cool Voltron-ass scene where the giant town-sized robot turns into...
You cannot use the word super cool Voltron-ass scene yet.
There's going to be an even more... Well, it's a something scene, at least.
Yeah.
There's a super fucking cool scene where the ship transforms into a robot and it uses the Yggdrasil as a gun, and then the Solaris robot is this giant spiky bally thing that's really cool, and it's called, I took a screenshot of this. What's this thing called?
It's called Fort Hurricane.
It's called the Solaris. It's called the Mobile Surface Supremacy Weapon, which is like I love how Nazis they are.
Right.
And also when the town becomes a whole robot, it's called the Super Dimensional Gear Yggdrasil 4.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful. So then you have a gear fight, except you're not a normal size gear. You're literally, so the fight arena where you're fighting is literally the world map.
Yeah.
And you're the Super Yggdrasil 4 Super whatever hyperdimensional Neptunia robot.
Yeah.
And you're fighting the white supremacy robot.
Yeah.
And it's not a hard battle at all, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's super cool. This one I feel is more Transformers with a Microcon. That's what this one was. It's not Voltron, it's Transformers.
Yeah, because it's only one thing with one other thing. It's not a bunch of things.
Yeah, and it's using the one other thing as a tool, which is what the Microcons did. They were like little cassette tapes that would turn into guns that Optimus Prime would use.
Yeah, I don't know that, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
So everyone's happy because they finally signed their goddamn peace treaty from, earlier in the game.
And to end a war for 100 years.
The sky shimmered as if to celebrate. And I love how they're like, the sky was shimmering because we were so happy, even though it's actually the nanomachines. Mm-hmm. Basically, the nanomachines fall and they're like, the limiters are gone, but then it turns out it's bad. Everyone starts mutating. Not everyone, but a lot of people start mutating into wells, and some of them mutate all the way into monsters. Some of them mutate just a little bit. They can't show all the gradations here because the graphics aren't detailed enough, and they don't have enough sprites. But that's what they explain is happening. And they're like, "Well, this sucks and is not what we expected." So you go to the brain ball. And the brain ball is very excited because, Eli, what is the big brain doing?
The big brain am winning again.
There it is.
Yeah.
The big brain am winning again here because it turns out the humans are germinating because it's time to be one with God. So, I don't know. I guess they were like, unlocking the limiter will allow humans to reach their full potential. But it's like, yeah, well, their full potential is to turn into fucked up monsters.
Yeah.
So, whoops.
Let's not do that.
I guess the limiter was keeping them regular. So then Miang and Krellian are talking, and so it's a little... y'all are going to have to tell me what y'all think here, because it's a bit of a mixed bag, because it seems to me like at first they're like, oh, removing the limiters had the unintentional side effect of turning people into monsters. But then also Miang and Krellian are saying that before Solaris blew up, they dispersed some other kind of nanomachine that made a weird virus, and that's fucking everybody up. I think maybe it's like both. Here's my read. My read is everyone is supposed to turn into a weird monster, and then they're going to form, you'll see later, they're going to all come together to form the body of God. And that's going to happen either way. But what Miang and Krellian did was release a different nanomachine such that whenever they make the body of God, they fuck it up. Like a Trojan horse or something like that. Yeah. That's what I thought happened. So I don't know.
It was people turned into zombies and God was happy, basically.
And God said it was good.
So at this point, the game just goes absolutely goddamn hog wild. There's an explanation of the solar
This
system.
is the part I was talking about earlier, where they could have ended here on a cliffhanger and made a Xenogears Part 1, and it kind of would have been okay. Mm-hmm. But definitely not ending at Disc 1. Disc 1 would have been a really shitty ending.
Yeah,
it's interesting. The end of Disc 1 worked very well from a dramatic standpoint because he switched to the whole different narrative style, the dreams and stuff. But really, this is much more the shift in the game because you finally defeated Solaris all the way, and you finally removed the limiter all the way, and all that stuff. And then everything just goes absolutely hog wild. So everyone's turning into monsters. It turns out that all across the world there is the Soylent system, which was already mentioned before, but it turns out it's all these facilities all over the world. And the people who turn into monsters are inexplicably drawn to go to these Soylent facilities. No one knows why, they're just drawn, and they hear something like, if you go to the Soylent system, you'll find salvation, or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's what the narration says that happens. But then when they get there, they get trapped, and then the ones that are the most mutated eat the ones that are less mutated, because what happens is being mutated causes you to be in unending pain, and the only way to ease the pain is to
eat human blood,
eat human flesh and blood, and that makes you not like in eternal suffering anymore.
Yeah, that sounds like what God wanted.
Yeah.
So they're all eating each other and shit. And then what happens is they end up all eventually dying and being fed into the Soylent system. And instead of them making Soylent Green, which is people, all their little bits and blobs of literally just like chunks of flesh go through these tubes and wires into the center of the facility where they are gathered together to make a giant evil monster. Mm-hmm. And apparently Solaris made this a long time ago because they're like, this sounds like a good thing to do. Make some weapons that we can use to hurt people, I guess. And it's really fucked up.
Yep. It's super fucked up.
They go and they show all this. They show all the little chunks of flesh, little blobby, bloody masses going through all the tubes. It's really upsetting. So they go there to stop it. But then, like, Ellie feels really bad, so she wants to heal them, and there's a little 5-second anime scene. That 5-second anime scene is later, actually. She's like, these people are in so much pain. They're still humans, even though they're monsters. It's actually a very sweet scene. But then the Sufjan Stevens mass, that's not what it's called. It's something with an S. Comes alive. So that's
what it's called.
SUFA. Yeah, SUFA mass. So the big god thing, like the god thing that all the blobby blobs were forming, comes alive. Even though it wasn't done being made yet, it still comes alive. And you fight it. How did y'all deal with this boss fight?
I watched it in a cutscene, but before we get into it, there was one thing that Ellie said that I thought was really cool. Is she was like, it jumped out and started attacking us, but the eyes that looked at me were human pleading for death. So I fought it,
that's right.
not because it was attacking people, but to take it out of its misery, which is really cool.
Oh yeah, one important thing that's interesting here is Ellie is straight up the main character at this point.
Yeah, which is even worse because she has no agency for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
But what's cool is that when this scene starts, all the narration I just said, where they're just explaining what the Soylent system is, it's all just narration. And thus far in the game, anytime there's just narration, it's from Faith's point of view. And of course, it's not like the narrator says, "Hi, I'm Ellie, and I'm narrating." So you just think it's regular narration. But then at a certain point, there's like a tip-off. I think it's like, oh, that's right. They're like, so we all went to the Soylent system. Even my friend, who's the red-haired guy?
Rank.
Yeah. So the again at this point unnamed narrator is like, so we all went to the Soylent system to stop it. Even my friend Rank came along, and I'm like, oh, Ellie is the one talking here. It's a really interesting shift.
Yeah.
So then the narrator who is Ellie, not Fei, is like, yeah, I looked into the monster's eyes and I saw human eyes. Blah 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 blah. It's very nice. Also, they keep having a lot of very interesting dialogue. They start introducing the idea of haves and have-nots, which obviously is an idea that exists all the time. But like they start using that term over and over and over. I think it's maybe some kind of biological essentialism where like some people are just destined to turn into monsters and other people are destined to just continue being humans. And the idea is like, maybe some humans are fundamentally better than others, but you should still be nice to the people who are shittier than you.
Yes.
I get it. They're trying to repudiate the whole survival of the fittest thing, right? So, but they're saying like, well, I mean, maybe some people are stronger and smarter and more fortunate. That doesn't matter. That doesn't mean you don't take care of those who are weaker than you. It's actually good to take care of those who are weaker than you. So there's this division about the haves and the have-nots. So you fight this boss battle. I thought it was hard as shit.
I don't remember a whole lot about it, but I recall it being pretty difficult.
Yeah, it was really cool for me. I sat there for 2.5 minutes and watched Saitan do some sword death blows, and then it was over.
Yeah, I mean, I've had Saitan for the entire thing because his sword is so fucking good.
Yeah, he's astronomically good. It's insane. Anytime they let you pick a party, I'm like, well, I don't know who else should be here, but I know Saitan's going to be there.
Yeah.
So what happens in this battle is it's one big guy and
a bunch of little dudes, yeah.
And I killed the mooks first because that's how you do it in JRPGs before focusing on the big guy. But once I beat all the mooks, the big guy got way the hell stronger.
Oh, that's what happened. Yeah, sorry. I had a guide, and so I knew not to kill the little guys.
Exactly. So what you're supposed to do is just attack the big guy. And am I wrong in thinking that does the big guy actually eat the mooks?
Yes, he does.
Gotcha. See, that didn't happen to me because I killed the mooks myself because I was playing by JRPG rules. Once all 4 of the mooks are gone, he gets god awful hard. So that's why it was really hard for me. He would kill all my enemies in all my good guys. He would kill my characters in one turn. He would one shot my heroes every single time, and it also heals him. Yeah. So every turn he's killing someone and getting like 500 health. So what I did was I just kept using Zeta Sols over and over and over, and like Saitan would be alive and he would bank some AP and then he would die and then he'd be revived and he'd bank more AP. And when they all got up to full AP, at this point the boss still has full health because he's healing himself every time he attacks me. We just all unleashed all of our AP and I crossed my fingers and hoped it would work. And I used like 40 Zeta Sols.
Oh geez.
Yep.
That's beautiful.
I'm smart. This game's battle system is weird enough where I feel like when you think you're playing it quote unquote wrong, it's actually just that the game's battle system is weird and interesting, and that's just what you have to do sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's an anime scene where turns out that monster you just killed turns out when it's animated, it's really fucked up looking.
Yeah.
It's
really
like
gross.
Kill me, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Elly uses the sword to dramatically cut her arm a little bit, and then she gives him some blood so that he won't be in as much pain, and then he dies. And then she gives a moving speech about how everybody just wants to be loved, and we all need each other. Mm-hmm. And turns out that the real Soylent system was the friends we made along the way. So then they go around destroying all the Soylent systems. They're like, cool, so those are all over the world. We destroyed them.
There's one cool filmmaking thing they do right here. So Elly is giving a speech to these people. Like, Soylent was really, really bad, but I love everybody, and if you are hurting, try to not hurt other people, and if you are a have and not a have not, like, willingly cut yourself and help everybody and be great. And then the camera flashes and she's Sophia giving the same speech to the people right there, and it's super, super cool.
Yeah, I liked that scene a lot.
I didn't write down anything of it, but it actually is a very, very good scene.
Yeah. Since in this part, none of the environments probably have collision because they just threw up a backdrop. They go crazy with like the camera stuff that I loved in the very beginning of the game, and so it's all these like dramatic close-ups and over the shoulders and stuff like that because that's all they had to go with. And it's dope.
Yeah, it's all they're really going all out on it, and it's good. Like the actual cutscenes that they bother to actually make are very, very well done.
Yeah.
So we get the brain ball again, and the brain ball is so they go and destroy the toilet systems, and it's interesting because I don't know. I feel like the world just keeps rocketing from catastrophe to catastrophe, but it's like, hey, a huge catastrophe happened, and like the entire fucking world started turning into zombies, and a zillion of them died, and it's really awful. But things are getting better now.
Yeah,
because they destroy the solar system, and the world starts to settle down a bit. And what happens is now all the monsters, instead of being drawn to the Soylent facilities, they all start going to Nissan because they say if you go to Nissan you'll get salvation. So they go to Nissan, and Elly fades into she grows into her role as the Holy Mother of Nissan reincarnated, and she shows compassion to everybody. And there's also nanotechnology, so they try to heal people, and some of them are able to be healed back to human form, or like maybe they're still mutants and they're still in pain, but they can at least kind of look a little human. So they start to readjust to this new state of the world and deal with the fact that everybody has zombie disease now, and they just have to live with that.
And she assuming she's I think it's actually Fei is the narrator at this point, because he talks about
probably
because he says right here she was the very image of the woman who created Nissan, Mother Sophia. So Elly wouldn't use those pronouns, but I think it's Fei. But of course it's Fei. Fei's the one in the chair, but he says that because Solaris is gone, because we blew it up a couple of days ago, the surface dwellers had instantly became uniting. All of the war was literally just Gebler versus Ethos and all these things that were just Solaris versus Solaris to make people hate each other, and people actually don't hate each other. Surprise, surprise. And so they all were centering in on Nissan to be the foundation of the new world, which is kind of cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's almost like social divisions are made to pit the lower classes against each other.
Weird.
Funny how that works out.
Yeah.
So the brain ball talks again, and they're like, it's finally time to the awakening of God is at hand. Let's use the plot key. So it turns out underneath the brain ball is a floor, and in the floor the whole time apparently has been a giant keyhole, and out of the brain ball descends the giant keyblade, and the keyblade goes down there, and it's about to go into the keyhole, but then it starts being all electric, and the brain ball starts getting electrocuted, all shocked, and they're like, what's happening? Someone's stopping us from using the plot key. And it turns out Kane stops them, because remember we found out that Kane might be good or something?
Oh, yeah.
Ish.
He's the least enemy of my enemy.
Yeah, so because remember he was the one who was actually making Saitan follow Fei around, but for good reasons instead of bad. So Kane's just stop it! I'm not letting you use the plot key. I've got my own ideas about what should happen with humanity, and the brain ball is fuck. So yeah, the world starts to settle down a little bit, so they decide to go on a fetch quest. There's a couple more anime relics that no one's gotten, so they decide to go get all the anime relics. You get some actual dungeons here.
Yeah.
First you get Billy's. What's the dungeon for Billy's? Oh, it's the technology dungeon where you have to solve some puzzles and do doors and stuff. Yeah, there's a super, super simple little math puzzle here that I thought was cute.
Yeah, so this one being Billy's, I saw that Billy gets the anime at the end of it. How did it in game say that Billy needed to come on this one, or was it just pick a party and you can't take Billy out of it?
No.
We didn't have to have
you can
Billy.
pick anybody.
Okay.
What happens is once it gets to the relevant cutscene, Billy becomes there.
Okay, so it was clumsily handled. That's how it was. Got it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I actually like that the most. It's we're just not going to fucking worry about it. Don't worry. Just Billy will be there when he bees there. You know.
Yeah, I just thought it's fine this way. A better and dare I say more correct way would be to give Billy a reason to go into it, to tie it together. But
wouldn't that be a contrived coincidence?
I mean, yes, but that's almost the point. Is to hide your contrived coincidences. So it's not just oh, hey, I feel like going with you today. That one's a big contrived coincidence. But if this was this look these things on the front look like stuff from Ethos, and Billy's oh, I know this, and hacks into the mainframe. He's I can get us through this. Then that's
true.
That's more of a thing.
But yeah, no, I think they're doing the RPG thing now where it's look,
they're all here.
The party thing is just a formality. They're all there.
Yeah.
Right? It's not actually 3 people. There's no fucking reason only 3 of them would go. They're all fucking there.
Yeah.
Right? So there's another brain ball scene. No, they don't say anything important. And then we go to the next one. On the way out of Billy's, we fight the elements. They show up again. They're hey, we're dumb. And you're hey.
And what I think is spectacular about it is they show up and they're oh, hey, let's fight. And so you fight, and they're fight us again, but outside so we can get in our gears. And we just let them walk outside to get into their gears.
Okay, I guess I'll fight you in your robots.
Yeah. I don't understand.
Which I definitely appreciated, because the best cutscene in the entire PS1 happens when you get outside.
Quite. Okay, before we get there, the on-foot fight is a little interesting because it's one of those multiple people fights where each person does a different thing, right? So, one of them is healing, so of course you want to kill her first, right? And they're all weak to a different element, which is cool. And at this point, your 7-level AP death blows are elemental moves. So that's cool. So what I did is I would use Elly to cast elemental spells on everyone to figure out who's weak to what because I could never remember. And then once I figured that out, then I would have Saitan, of course, death blow the ever-loving shit out of them. Because he had all 4 of them, and Fei only had 2, so I would use Fei when it was relevant. But the cool thing is that Dominia, who of course is the leader, they don't give any plot explanation for this, but if the other 3 aren't dead, if you attack Dominia, she just instantly regains like 5,000 health.
Yeah.
There's no explanation at all, but the game's just subtly being like, you gotta get her last, fam.
Yeah.
You know? I thought maybe it was because once the other 3 were gone, there'd be some kind of cutscene with her, and that's why she had to be alive, because there had to be that cutscene. That didn't happen.
No. The cutscene takes place in the normal engine outside.
Yeah, it's weird, but whatever. I still think it's cool. It's like, she's the leader. You know, you got to get her last, I guess. So they run outside, and a really good cutscene happens, Sam. What happens here?
So, like, shot for shot, beat by beat, 100%. The transformation sequence from the OG Power Rangers Super Sentai whatever season that would be happens, complete with, it starts with the pterodactyl one like flies up and turns into a jetpack, and then you get like anime lines coming from the side, and the tiger one runs across the screen. Like, it's exactly bit by bit what happens.
The anime lines are the best touch. It's like, where's he running from? You don't need to know. That's the point of anime lines. You don't have to have a background.
Yeah. And so everyone like turns into different parts, and then they all slide together exactly like the Megazord, and it's the best thing on the PlayStation 1. And I don't even like feel like I'm exaggerating. This is the best use of PlayStation 1 graphics I've ever seen. Like, it's good.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And it's perfect, and you fight the Megazord, and it's not too hard. Although it does have a shit ton of health, which makes sense because it's actually 4 robots, right? It does that RPG thing where it like switches which of them is in control, which means it's switching its elemental weaknesses, which is cute. So you hit it a bunch. Elly uses her whatever they're called, lymph nodes,
Aerods,
yeah. Lymph nodes. I don't know, man. That's because Elly, I had forgotten to upgrade any of her shit, so she was really weak. So I just had her doing air rods. I remember to upgrade her later, though. But yeah, so you kick their ass, right?
Yeah.
Then there's an unimportant brain ball scene, and then you go to get the next one, which turns out to be Rico's. If you forgot, is a character in this game. This dungeon's cool. It's a cave dungeon, and you got some ancient ruins and some ancient ruin-ass riddles. Where you have to. There's some part of it is like extremely like Raiders of the Lost Ark, or more specifically, The Last Crusade ass shit, where it's like, oh no, the spiky ceiling is falling down. Oh, but turns out it's one of those cartoon chandeliers where it goes around you, but if you stand in the middle, you're fine. And that's funny because here's the thing. The characters could clearly have seen that.
Yeah.
But we, the player, because of the camera angle, cannot see that, which is hilarious.
Camera angle
that only tricks the player. There's no reason it would trick the player. There's no reason it would trick the characters.
We also forgot. Here starts the point where Sam decided that he doesn't like Xenogears. It's probably like a 7 out of 10 no matter what the ending is, because this last fight that we did with the Megazord is the last time you get to use Elly in the game. Yeah. She decides to go and be the Holy Mother of Nissan, just off screen, just shows up in her chair, says it, and then is gone from your party for the rest of the game. And it's dumb.
The rest of the game?
It's the rest of the whole game.
She doesn't come back for the final boss?
Doesn't come back at all the rest of the game.
That's stupid. Oh, wait, you know what? Yeah, I remember why. Yeah, there's a very... Okay, I will say there is a better reason she's not the final boss than she's off being a woman.
Yeah, because she does triumphantly come back at the end of the playthrough today, but it's a cutscene. It's not playable.
Yeah.
Again, the game is about to get just astronomically gender normative. But first you gotta go and do a little cave dungeon, and it Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it's fun. And what is the boss at the end of this one?
Oh, also when
that's right.
Just one more thing before the cave dungeon.
Yeah.
Ramses shows up for his final boss thing, and Ellie fights him in a cutscene and not actually fighting him, and she kicks his ass, and he's mad because even Fei wasn't the one to kick his ass in the end.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a really big deal. Yeah. Ramses is going to. So a few things happen not related to the main characters here, and I forget when these things happen. So let's just go over them in order. So they're like Ramses. So now they're actually way more concerned about Ellie than Fei. They're like, Ellie is probably quote the mother. We gotta get her. Mm-hmm. We gotta get her. So Ramses goes to Nissan to try and get her.
This is our first black box theater scene as well. So it has Ramses talking with Ellie in front of their projector with the pendant still swinging in the background, and like characters enter stage left, exit stage right, all of those cool things. Yeah,
it's actually cool as shit. So like Ellie and Krellian are both, or Ellie and Ramses are both, they're in their robots. Yeah. And if you look at the screen in the back of the theater, they're in robots. But then just the character models themselves are just standing on the stage talking at each other. And I cannot speak ill of this. I think it's fantastic.
It's probably the best way they could have done this part of the game. Like, we have no money. We need to make a visual novel. Let's make it just a stage, and it's dope.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I would love to see, honestly, a higher budget, higher graphics version that still does it this way.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fucking cool.
I was actually thinking when I was watching this, I was like, what if the whole game was like this? Like, so what if somebody designed a game that they're like, no, we're going to make it a stage so we can have introspection and monologues and these sorts of things that are okay in stage plays and hard to fit into actual scenes, and just do the game like this. And I'm like, I would probably love that, and no one else would. Me and Sniff would be like 10 out of 10, and everyone else would be like 1 out of 10.
The only question is, how do you do like dungeons, I guess? Of course, you could just not have them, but
you could just not have dungeons.
But doing that while simultaneously also having a somewhat regular JRPG experience would be, I think, the ideal and most interesting challenge. But I don't know how they would do that, but whatever. But you know how sometimes on SNL you're watching SNL and it's all live, but then sometimes they'll show they'll do skits that are actually just, they recorded them last week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like that. It's like you're watching the play, but then you're playing the game and it's like, oh, this is on the projector screen or something, and we already made this part. I don't know, but whatever. It doesn't matter. But it's really cool and really effective. Ellie kicks Ramses' ass, and he's like, I can't even beat you. Jesus fucking Christ, I'm pathetic. And she's like, yeah, you are. Could you just stop? And then we learn about him. It turns out Ramses, so Cain, the emperor, he was like, the reason why he looks all stupid is because he was like biologically engineered to be like he was eugenics to be the ultimate human being, like the ideal,
the Ubermensch, as it were.
Yeah, Ubermensch, basically. Which I guess is why he has a weird face that looks like it's a Halloween mask. I don't know. But Ramses was meant to be like version 2.0, like even better, ultimate superior being. And to be fair, he is very hot. So like, they realized that the problem with Cain is that he wasn't hot, right? Anyway, the other thing with Ramses is that because he's the ultimate human being, he can sync with all of the anime relics instead of just one of them, like the rest of your party member. All of them. So again, that's his destiny. He's engineered to be the best. But just as he was being made in some kind of Bacta tank or something, Fei shows up on the scene. And I guess Fei's already the ultimate human being because he's destined by God, by plot reasons that you'll find out in a little bit
Naked Space
next
Lady.
week. Yeah, Naked Face Lady, you'll find out next week. So once Fei showed up, they were like, well, we don't need this anymore. So they were just like, and just threw Ramses in the fucking garbage chute. Like little babies, like, wah! They're just like, it's trash.
It's the beginning of Kung Pao all over again, where they pick him up like, aw, and just throw him off the cliff.
Exactly. or the fucking beginning of Star Wars Episode 8 with the lightsaber. He's just like, well, get out of there. So Ramses literally grew up in the garbage, which is why he gets really triggered when he hears the word garbage. but he managed to bootstrap himself. He rose through, the ranks. He managed to somehow not die as a baby in a garbage chute. I'm presuming maybe some nice nun took him in, but they skipped that part. Or maybe he was just such an amazing baby that he killed rats or something as a baby. So point is, he's got an enormous chip on his shoulder because he is the stereotypical self-made, 100% self-made man. Never mind that he's gifted with absolutely supernatural natural abilities, but his station in life was the lowest, right? So he's really the ultimate sort of libertarian sort of ideal. So he worked really hard to get where he is, and he thinks that it's Fei. No, they threw him in the trash just because. Actually, they didn't throw him in the trash. Why did they throw him in the trash? It wasn't because of Fei.
Let me look. So,
son of a gun.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through. So, he's like, I was created to be blah, blah, blah. I was created to have powers, blah, blah, blah. You could say I was the ideal form. However, once he was born, I was rejected. I was given life in a pile of trash. Right. So it was because of Fei. Yeah. So because of Fei. But then what happened whenever Fei went AWOL for a while, right? So that's the time when Krelian manages to rise through the ranks, or Ramses, become who he is, become a high-ranking general. And just as his life was starting to get back together, Fei comes back on the scene. And once again, they're like, oh, Fei's so cool. We got to capture Fei. Guys, Fei. He's awesome. Ramses, why can't you be more like Fei? And Ramses is double upset. And and Elly is just like, Ramses. She reads him for filth, and it's great. So she's like, so he goes and he tells all this stuff, and he's like, this is why, in my logical, crazy space Nazi ideology, why Fei is bad, actually, and I need to stop him because he took my destiny. And Elly goes, oh, I understand why you're so fixated on Fei. It's because you don't know what you should be doing with your life right now, and attacking people makes you feel good. But Ramses,
it's fucking great.
No one is attacking you, and it's just like, kill him.
This is probably the most real thing to happen in the entire fucking video game, which is to say, actually connected with normal human experience. It's like, oh my god, all of your awful abuse and treatment is just you acting out of your own hurt and pain. You need to look around and notice that life is not the way you think it is, and you do not have to be this way. You need to just fucking chill, dude. Everyone loves you. Okay, this isn't true with Ramses, but sometimes with the real world, it's like, dude, you have friends who love you. You don't need to be so filled with hurt and loneliness. This is stupid, and that's essentially what she does to Ramses. She's just like, stop. And it doesn't work, but he kind of just runs away. Yeah.
Because when she says that, he goes, stop. Even you're trying to take that warmth away from me. And it's like, killing people shouldn't make you feel warm. That should be be a bad thing, Ramses.
Yeah. So Elly does a really good job here. But it doesn't work.
Elly is way better than Kasala at getting people out of their funks.
Yeah, definitely. So anyway, but then it turns out they figured out what they really need Ramses for, because Ramses again is like a clone of Emperor Cain. So he has some similar juju or whatever. So Ramses shows up in the brain ball and is there to do what Krelian told him to do, which is to assassinate Cain. And Cain's like, nah, man, I got this magic barrier. And then the magic barrier shatters, and Cain's like, ugh! And Ramses is like, yeah, bitch, I'm your clone. I can get rid of your magical barrier. And then Krelian is all like, excellent work, Ramses. Kill him. and Ramses is all like, I shouldn't. It's not the Jedi way. He's like, kill him now.
Do it.
Do it. Yeah, exactly. So he fucking does it. And
then we finally get to go to the Rico scene. According to this. But yeah. So this is intercutting, right? Back and forth. The whole second chapter is intercut, and it's really hard to tell in order. And I'm surprised that they did it in the actual game.
So at any rate, here's what really hits the fan. So everyone turned into zombies, but then we decided that we could still have a functional society even though everyone was zombies, and we're going to make it work, right? But then, now that Cain is dead, they can activate the Gaeta key, aka the plot key, and they put the plot key in the plot key hole, and they turn it, and oh boy, they activate the end game, basically. So they're like, time to wake up God.
So the time to wake up God turning thing happens after a very important scene that I don't want us to skip. That happens at the end of Rico's dungeon. So at the end
when you fight Hammer.
Yeah. So this happens before the plot key, before the shit hits the fan.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, you fight Hammer at the end. End of it.
You said important scene. I thought you were being serious.
No, I meant it's important because it wraps up a plot thread, and I didn't want that to just dangle. But yeah. Hammer is like double gear sized for some reason, and is like super zombified, and he's just like, man, this feels so good. Krillian did this for me. Don't you want to be like me? It feels so good. And you're just like, man, you're sad. So I'm gonna kill you.
This boss battle is a little bit interesting, actually. After you fight him a whole bunch, he starts glowing all red. And then there's a dialogue box that shows up that I guess is Fei, whoever you're playing as, that's like, that doesn't look good. And you hit him a few more times, and he starts glowing red even more, and someone's like, we should get out of here. So what you do is you escape. You have to choose the runaway option. I'm guessing if you don't, he like explodes and kills you or something. But in the battle system, you have to pick run away.
That's actually cool.
And that
Really?
ends the boss battle,
Because
which is cute.
I killed him. He didn't explode on me.
Oh, okay.
And I got an item for it that apparently increases drop chance of rare items or something like that.
Nice.
Well, good thing I don't care about that, because that would make me sad.
But that's cool that you can run away from it, at least. Even the fact that you can is still cool, even if
Yeah,
it doesn't require you to.
Yeah, so then you have some dialogue, and then he like falls into a big hole, and he blows up or whatever. Yeah, it's sad. I wish that that Hammer could have gotten some redemption. He's red and he's dead, but he didn't get any redemption. I stole that joke from Tim Rogers. I'm sorry, Tim Rogers. Referring to actual character as those three things. Anyway, yeah. So then they pull the plot key, and now everyone is for real this time, turning into zombies. Not because of nanomachines, not because of the limiter, but because that's like the thing foredestined by God or whatever. Is that the ultimate destiny of humanity is to become these fucked up monsters. And they do, and then there's some dialogue where it's like, once humans have filled the earth, God will awaken from his long sleep, and then the awakening of Mahanan, the paradise of the sky, will soon follow. So yeah, it's not good, fam.
Yeah, but I just want you to know, when we made the joke 4 episodes ago that we were leaving one Sky City to go into another, and Eli was like, because you need 2, and I was like, hold on, we're not halfway done with the game yet. There could be another paradise in the sky, and here we go, got another one.
Yep. So this is Mahanan, and Mahanan is actually, so it's weird. Earlier I said that Babel Tower was a ship from the beginning of the game. I still feel like it is. It fucking has to be.
It is.
I think so far it's just a portion of it.
Every ancient civilization part every ruin of an ancient civilization we've seen so far is a different part of a ship. So the fuselage is Babel Tower, shoved it in there. Shavat is the big like spinny circle thing to like hyperdrive or some shit. It's on the ship in the thing. It's
so
that.
Now we're at a much bigger than Babel Tower, much presumably more important section of it. The central section of it, and you actually get a shot of the exterior, and the ship is called the Eldridge, which
I think is the final like hint that this is the ship from the beginning of the game. Before it'll probably be Saitan will be like, "Oh, didn't you watch this cutscene earlier?" But he just explains it overtly. Probably coming up, but this is the last because you see it called the Eldridge at the very beginning. So this is the last time it will reference it before it probably just tells you straight up.
Also, boy, this part of the game, I love. Okay, so this game's soundtrack, it's not all hits. Okay, it's got a lot of great tracks, but also a lot of generic RPG tracks. Once you get to disc 2, though, man, it's just like it's all hits. Because it's only like 5 tracks over and over. Yeah. But they get so much mileage out of the bum 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 bum, but like the opening theme. Mm-hmm. They get so much fucking mileage out of that shit, and they get a lot of mileage out of the music box song, and they get a lot of mileage out of the flight. The flight, and they get a lot of mileage out of the churchy song played on the harpsichord, and also the other, like the schmaltzy emotions are happening song. It's just like those 5 songs played in rotation, and it owns.
So one thing about the schmaltzy romance song, which if I haven't put it in yet already, I'll put it in right here. But it has the same like Irish jig turnaround that We Are the Chosen Ones from Xenoblade 2, my favorite track in an RPG ever, has. So every time I listen to it, I'm just like, to then continue singing that song, and then that gets stuck in my head for like 6 hours just because of this little turnaround on Elly and Fei's little love theme or whatever. But it's great. It's good. The music's good. Yeah.
So now everything's going terrible again, and they're like, well, shit, what do we do? I guess we should go to Mahanan, because the Sky City of Mahanan has appeared, and that's where God is, and I guess we'll go fight the final boss now.
Yeah, and because Fei says there's no way we could allow God or God's wisdom to fall into the hands of the ministry, so we decided to assemble all the forces we could to head towards Mahanan. So
yep, and Ellie's like, cool, let's go, and Fei's like, whoa, hold up there, laddie. Haven't you noticed your chromosomes? Or, well, I was going to say or gender expression, but no, they don't know about that kind of stuff. These are very conservative RPG people, so it's just chromosomes. And he basically is like, you got to stay back. And then there's this scene. I actually like this scene, even though at first I was angry about it. He goes on and on about how it's going to be super dangerous, and does he say anything more than just like it's going to be dangerous, and if you die, that would suck?
He says you'd get in my way. You can, because he goes, there's no way we can do this unless we kill people, and you couldn't even kill one person, so you just get in the way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So he tells her that somehow like she's unable to kill these monsters because they're actually human, but like she's been fighting things the entire fucking game. I'm pretty sure back when we were invading Solaris, she killed like 1 million guards.
Yeah.
But now that she's into being the Holy Mother of Nissan and shit, she's like, oh, these suffering monsters, I can't possibly kill them. So yeah, she runs away crying. There's a great bit of filmmaking here. There's no music in this scene, or sound effects, and when she runs away, her clunky boots echo like fucking loud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just great. It's just like clunk, 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 clunk as she runs off. It's great. What makes this scene good, actually, is that after she leaves, all of the different party members are like,
that was the dumbest fucking thing you could ever say. That's so fucked up.
They're like, Fei, you're an asshole. Holy shit, dude. You really overdid it. Even Bart is like, this ain't it, Chief. Like, what the hell? But then Fei says what he was really feeling, which is, he should have just said this. He's like, well, actually, no. Everyone in Nissan needs Ellie. Like, she's really important here. And that's actually a pretty decent reason.
Yeah.
Like, she is doing extremely important work in Nissan, her humanitarian shit, and if she left, they wouldn't have anybody and to be doing that work and taking care of everybody. And, like, yeah, it's dumb that she's the one who has to do it, but she is already doing it. So, like, I don't know. He should have just told her that.
And then when he goes in to tell her that, he still doesn't tell her that, and he tells her the most problematic thing that made me want to just stop watching because it's bad. But I'm waiting to go off until we get to all the pieces.
To the room, and he says a bunch of things. Where is it? Oh, actually, I don't have a screenshot of that. What does he say when he goes in there?
So he goes. I'm just trying to skim. So he goes. He basically says. He goes, not everybody on my crew is very strong. We almost lose sight of our future at times, but we need someone like you to depend on as a light to guide us. You free the hearts of the people who've been used as tools by the ministry for hundreds of years. He goes, now your body doesn't belong to you alone anymore, problematic. Yep. And that's why I can't let you be in any danger. That's why I don't want you to fight anymore. And then she's like, we used to be enemies, but now we're together like this. In the beginning, I think I saw myself in you. I didn't feel alone or apprehensive, so that's why I thought I liked you, but it wasn't like that. I didn't have courage to look at my true self, but now that I have, I realize that I do actually love you. So I thought I was pretending to be in love with you, but now I think I actually am. And she learned that she really does need him, and he asks her to be his home to come home to, and it's bad. But then they have sex, so it's all good, I guess.
It's bad, but it's not as bad as what happens in just a second, actually.
Yeah.
Although, the whole, like, your body doesn't belong to you.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, Faye. That's cool.
Yeah.
So that happens. And then they fuck.
Yeah.
And then there's another scene later where Elly is chatting with our girl Margie. And she's talking about how... Oh, no, sorry, this is a bit later, sorry. So, anyway, they go to Mahanan, and it's a dungeon, and...
Oh, I forgot, when they fuck, it's an anime scene of them sharing their first kiss, and it's kind of sweet, but...
Yeah.
It's surrounded by heteronormative bullshit that I hate.
Yeah.
Yep.
The one thing filmmaking I think is cool. So they use the anime scene to show like the twinkles in their eyes and looking at each other, and they lean in, but the kiss is actually sprites, and I thought that was
and they're really
cool.
Good sprites.
Yeah.
Good smooching sprites. I don't know. I like it when sprites... Here's why I like it when sprites smooch, okay? It's because it's two separate sprites.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're doing it... the way Final Fantasy IV does it, for example, is Cecil is a 16x16 sprite, and Rosa is a 16x16 sprite. They're both squares, right? Because that's in the really old RPGs, the bad guys had the characters all had square
bounding boxes,
dimensions.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there, and they inch toward each other, and they inch toward each other, and then they enter into what I'm almost positive it's just a single
square
16x16 sprite.
It's definitely what it is.
Both of them smooching, and it's the fucking best. And it's so cute because it's like technologically, it's almost like because of the limitation of technology, they cannot actually come together. But then they overcame that and became one sprite. She totally like straight up quotes the Bible later. She's all like, "We become one flesh," and I'm like, "Ugh, that's weird when the Bible says it, and it's weird when you say it."
Yeah.
But that's what happens when the two sprites come together. It's cute.
Yeah.
Here they probably just had two separate sprites, but with good camera angles.
Yeah.
So the party goes to Mahanan.
Oh,
and
also, Fei, the pendant, the important dramatic shit is happening pendant is one that Fei's had on the whole time. So after they fuck, he's like, "Here, have my shirt to wear in the morning," and hands her the pendant. And that
way everyone will know we fucked, right?
Yeah.
Never mind that, like, I went into this room on the Yggdrasil and didn't come out
for like 8 hours.
Everyone knows, well, or for 30 minutes, depending on how it goes for Faye.
Yeah,
I've made it with a woman. Inform the men.
Inform the men.
Inform the men. Exactly. So anyway, so the next day they go to Mahanan and Elly stays behind. The dungeon is real cool and real big, but I'll skip through it. They get to the end of the cool and big dungeon, and they get to the central computer, which is these two giant... I can only imagine... I don't know. It's like these two giant glowy tablets. I feel like it's supposed to be evocative of the Ten Commandments. And they're like, this is Azrael, or whatever it's called, the ancient computer with all... This is the Lord's wisdom, basically, is on a computer. So they start to learn the actual plot of the game, but they only get half of it because they get interrupted by a boss battle.
One other thing, just I saw while scrubbing, is instead of having a cigarette after they smoked, Elly went to talk to Margie, and Elly said, "Oh yeah, by the way, I have all my memories back. I know that I'm Sophia." which is cool.
Oh yeah. They have a nice little chat outside of Nissan.
Because she was like, when I came here the first time, everything felt familiar, and when you were telling me, oh hey, this is what's behind this door, I already knew it, and I thought that was weird. And if you would have told me it's because I'm the Holy Mother of Nissan from 500 years ago, I would have laughed at you. But like, I guess I understand now, which is cool and important.
Yeah. So they go to Mahanan and they get to the computer and they learn the plot of the game. The plot of the game is that there was an intergalactic civilization, and the intergalactic civilization made a really dangerous automated weapon that isn't given a name at this point. And the weapon was this big monster, and it could like destroy entire planets or something. And it was surrounded by a I might be saying a little bit too much here, like I might be saying something they don't say till later, whatever. It's surrounded by a cadre of like support units, right? And it's also got this big mothership called the Eldridge. And this thing flies among the stars, and then you don't really find out what happens next. You find out that the characters talk, and they're like, oh, did this thing crash on Earth? Is that where humans came from? I guess it was. So they put two and two together, they figure some stuff out, but that's basically all they figure out before the boss battle interrupts, right?
Yeah. So they talk about that, and then it just fades to black, and then says, "In the depths, we found an alien life form, and it was scary, and perhaps it was the fear of the absolute that came from the very depths of our inherited instincts." And then it breaks out of its force field, and you have a really cool use of the battlefield is not just flat sort of thing that Xenogears is about.
Yeah, it's cool.
In this boss battle.
So you fight Deus, literal god. It's basically like the thing you fight at the beginning of Metroid Prime. And you fight it, and it's literally God, and you this is actually not the final boss of the game, weirdly enough.
Yeah. This is a JRPG where you go on a hiking trip and you kill God, and then you still play for another 4 hours.
Yeah. This isn't a spoiler that matters. I'm just gonna bring this up now because it's weird. Deus is the final boss of the game. You fight him now, but for some reason, I guess it didn't stick.
Okay.
You fight him again later as the actual final boss. A lot happens between now and then. So what happens when you beat him?
So you get another FMV of Fei walking into this room that's so gigantic that the gears look like tiny ants, and it's super cool. And this is where the giant 10 Commandments come out, and we learn the rest of the plot of the game.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Fei says the cavern is big enough that the entire capital of Ave could have fit in it.
Yeah, which, given the graphics, doesn't seem exactly accurate, but whatever.
It's cool.
We'll take them at their word.
Saitan, because he's Saitan, knows how to operate this ancient computer and comes and pulls up the screen to read everything. We found the unthinkable when we accessed its data. A large unmanned strategic weapon and its battalion of terminal interface weapons.
Oh, yeah. That's stuff I was already saying. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's fine. So it's a creation of the Moloch, gives it a name, which is God's army to reign over the vast universe, because, of course, we can't just have one planet. We need all of the universe.
All of them, yes.
And
what are you even going to do with all of it?
Right?
Have them.
Yeah.
And then he talks about the interplanetary invasion weapons, and that's what the Geisel Ministry was after, because they want to take over other planets too. And the giant rotting organism we just defeated was in fact the nucleus of the system, and it was on the verge of accessing the data of something called the Zohar, which is central neural circuit and power source controlling the entire system, from the weapons to the mothership, when suddenly he appeared and Krelian shows up.
Yeah, so that's it. So I got the order wrong. You actually fight God before you find out that it was actually God, and and the plot exposition gets interrupted not by the Deus fight, but the plot exposition gets interrupted by Krelian showing up.
Yeah,
my bad.
It's okay. There's four plot dumps, 3 boss fights, bunch of cutscenes. It's hard to keep
what order
straight.
Do they come in? Yeah, and also again, I was very worried. I didn't want to say a plot dump that happens later.
Yeah.
On accident, right? Because you basically get half of it here, right? So yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I think we just killed. I guess that was God. Interesting. That's fun. And then, they were about to access the Zohar. And Zohar, if you've played Xenosaga, you're like, ding, 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 that's a very important word. The Zohar is also the thing that what's her ass.
That's that Adam Sandler movie, right?
I was gonna say that. Oh my god.
Also, the Zohar is the thing that
Pyra,
the thing that Pyra wears on her chest, that little gold cross thingy. That's the Zohar.
Remember the Zohar. That would be.
This is an element of. This is a thematic visual trope that has appeared in all Takashi's work. He just very clearly, really feels strongly about this symbol, which is a little bit reminiscent of a Christian cross, but also it's like a mix between a Christian cross and a tau from 2001, basically. Yeah. But gold and cool looking. So they're like, it was going to access the Zohar, and the Zohar was the the neural computer network that ran the whole ship.
The neural net processor.
Exactly. If you remember the opening cutscene of the game, the bad monster thing like took over the ship's computer, so that was probably something with it taking over the Zohar or something like that. Zohar's more than that, actually, but yeah, it's sort of just a big computer. Yeah. But then Krelian captures you.
So he shows up with an alpha Weltall, which probably has significance, but it doesn't say anything about it right here.
Yep. It'll be significant later. Yep. He shows up and he's like, "Oh," they're like, "Let's kill him," and he's like, "No, we can't kill him. We need to capture them because we don't care about Fei. We care about someone else. We need to capture a very important bird." And then he's like, "A very important bird. ... quote, needed to fulfill my earnest desire." Which, if he didn't put it in quotes, I'd just be like, "Oh, you're the bad guy and you need her for bad guy reasons." But he puts it in quotes and I'm like, okay, well now that sounds really creepy.
Yeah, it's sexual now.
You need to, quote, fulfill your, quote, desires. So he captures them and they go off to Golgora or something. It's a mistranslation of Golgotha, which is from the Bible. I forget how they actually spell it though. But yeah.
There's a scene with Graf here. Let me see if it's anything important. Nope.
Well, no, Graf is
because this is when Weltall kicks your ass. He shows up to talk to Fei, and
he just tells Fei that he sucks and isn't strong enough.
Yeah. They just take him.
Yeah, they take him.
Nothing important.
So they take him, and then they go to what is actually the best cutscene using PS1 graphics ever made. I'm skipping ahead a little bit. Don't worry, I'll go back.
Okay.
He takes him to Golgotha, and when he takes him to Golgotha, first of all, it's like a hill where like the skybox is just red flame. It's just like apocalypse graphics, right? Everything is it's like on top of a volcano. Everything is black and red and fiery and the end of the world and everything. And they're all being crucified, like from the Bible, but it's not the characters being crucified; it's the robots
and Snoo Snoo.
And a giant Snoo Snoo.
So there's these
has the power to shrink. Just shrink and get out of your bonds and save the day, Snoo Snoo. What are you doing?
What the fuck?
Maybe they used a limiter to make him not be able to shrink. Who knows? But actually, you know what? It makes sense because remember the limiters are what made the Choo Choo small to begin with. So now that everyone's limiters have been removed, maybe he's big all the time now. I never used him in my party, so I wouldn't know. So anyway, so there's all these giant crosses, and the robots are nailed or tied or somehow affixed to the crosses in Jesus pose. And I guess the characters are just in the cockpits.
Fine, just sitting there, just chilling.
I'm pretty sure maybe there's 2 crucifixion scenes happening in this game because I feel like the characters are strapped to the front of their robots, also in crucifix Jesus pose.
That could make sense.
Either I'm imagining that, or it happens later because there's 2 crucifixions. Who knows? You know what? I think just Elly gets strapped up like a crucifix.
Okay.
And that's how she gets strapped. Yeah, so anyway, I guess they're all just in their cockpits. They're in their cockpits. And
they're just like, fine. Only Snoo Snoo's in pain.
They're like, okay.
Snoo Snoo is the only one suffering, and I'm honestly okay with that.
Yeah, like Bart is just like fucking like smoking a bowl in his cockpit, He's hanging out. He's just straight chilling.
What's wrong with you all?
He's just like, why are we tied up like this? This is weird.
I'm gonna relax.
That's what's happening. But meanwhile, / before this, because I skipped ahead because the absurdity of it is astronomical, and it's my favorite fucking thing that's ever happened in a video. It's God. They're going all out. So anyway, so before that though, Elly here feels like a disturbance in the force, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then she gets an actual message from Krellian, and Krellian's like, come to Golgotha if you want to save your friends or whatever. And there's a lot going on here, a lot of scenes. It goes on for a bit, but the most important thing is she has a talk with Margie. And literally everyone is like, it's a trap, it's a trap, it's a trap. And she's like, I know it's a fucking trap, y'all, jeez. But like, if someone says we're going to kill these people if you don't come, then you go, right? Like, whatever. It's what heroes do, and she has to go alone.
No, she says it's the prerogative of a woman to want to be by her man. Yeah, that's what she says.
That's the part I was going to get to, yeah. So she's talking with Margie, and she's like, I guess, well, first they're like, it's selfish to save all these people. We need you here. How do you even know he's not just going to kill all of them and you? And she's like, I guess it's a woman's prerogative to be selfish. And then she says, I'm in supreme bliss when I'm embraced by the man I love. And then she says, it's my prerogative as a woman to simply want to save the man that I love. So she's like, I love all people all the time. I love everyone in the world. That's my duty as a woman, is to love everybody, but also to love one person in a special way. And that's how it goes. That talk was not with Margie. That talk is with the rest of her gang. I do really like how all of her crew are good guys now. It's cool.
Yeah,
it's
that they actually
we're all in this together.
Even though they were assholes to her at the beginning, like they're actually loyal to her.
I just love that they're on the side. I guess they're still assholes, but they're on the side of good, because everyone is.
Yeah. One thing,
there's no bad guys except for like the 3 actual bad guys.
One thing that happens right here that makes this whole I have no autonomy, I have to be plot armor for Fei that she comes to right here is even worse, because they also were out of budget right here. So this next thing is supposed to be a boss fight where Elly saves the day, and she gets her digivolved Omni gear right here, and this is her big triumphant moment, but they didn't have any money to make it, so it's just a cutscene. But it's just like, all of this crap would have been okay if she would have been like realizing her truth and all of that stuff, but we don't get to play any of that, so she just gets to talk about it, and it's just this big blech on it, because you don't get Elly back ever, because this is where you were supposed to play as her again, but it's a cutscene, so then she gets kidnapped, spoilers, and now you don't play as her until the end of the game. So
Yep. And the funny thing is, it's not really that different than like Terra from Final Fantasy VI. Mm-hmm. I've heard some people criticize Terra as like, oh, like she's a great character, but then in the World of Ruin, she's just like,
I just need to be a mom.
The point of the woman is be a mom, and I'm like, okay, but that's actually like, I think that criticism is very silly, because that's like saying like a woman can't want to be a mom.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, no, like that just makes sense with her character. Like, this character wanted to be a mom. It's not like the game is saying every woman has to be a mom.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
That's like that like rad femme, right? Where like being a woman who wants kids is actually like a traitor to women. You know? It's like, no, women should be able to make their own fucking decisions. Anyway, this game is like the same thing, except it's worse, because it first of all, Ellie's the only important female character. Whereas Final Fantasy VI had 2 major female characters, so one of them can go off and be a woman or be a mother, and the other one can do something different. In this, it's like, this is the one female character, this is the one representation, and also she goes on and on and on and on about how this is like the literal point of being a woman.
Yeah, and so like when I got to the end of it, I remembered back when I was talking about Rogue Galaxy, and you made and it was like Rogue Galaxy, somebody handed them a list of tropey RPG dungeons for them to link together, and they linked them together in interesting ways. So like, while Kasala was just girl and Digo was just gruff, they were like, oh, well, let me like make it actually good. And I feel like Takahashi man went and was like, okay, and then she's the mother and she's this and that and the other. And then Takahashi woman was like, okay, well, let me at least make her sound like a normal human being to want to do all of these things. And so in a world where women can do whatever they want, Elly lives up to that in a good way. Like, she has her own reasons. All of her reasons are good reasons. When she talks about like she just wants to be there for Fei and she wants to be there for these people, it makes a lot of sense. Like, everything she's doing is a good thing. But the fact that she was written to be Fei's love interest from across the stars and the mother of everyone, and the reason she decides to sacrifice all of the shit that they've worked for just so she can feel supreme bliss at being with her man, it kind of is just like, well, what if you didn't write that to be her story?
Yeah.
Like, it's okay that you arrived there through the proper means, but you still shouldn't have gone there. And I don't like it. It made me want to go and dislike every single time I've seen people say Fei and Ellie's relationship is the best JRPG relationship, and just downvote it on whatever I'm on.
No,
it's really not.
It's just a basic heteronormative relationship, but we make it better because it turns out that this is we present it as the archetypical way that people ought to be throughout history.
Yeah.
And that gives it power, but that it only gives it power if you buy into that. And if you don't, you're just like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
But at any rate, yeah, so she goes to save them. And
her new gear looks awesome, and I wish that I could play it.
I know, I love her new gear.
Yeah, it looks good as hell. It's a even more pink and magical girl, which doesn't fit her personality at all. But you know,
it's still cool.
It's like it's like a dark pink. It's like nearing on red. It's pretty dope. And
that's true. Yeah,
her dress is now also wings, which is really cool too.
Yeah,
yeah. It's legit. So she goes to save them, and Caroline's like, "What's up? You're here." And then he's like, I'll set them free, but first you must answer me these riddles 3. No, he's like, first I want you to fight these 2 people, and she's like, can't you just set them free? And he's like, no, you need to fight these 2 people. And Titania's all like, Elly, it's a trap. These bad guys are super, super, super duper strong. You cannot beat them. You should run away. And Caroline's like, well, I already surrounded the whole place with soldiers, so if you run away, you're gonna die. So you could either die or fight these dudes and probably die. And she's like, okay, I'll fight these dudes. So you fight them, and yeah, it's a cutscene and not playable. And it goes on for a long time, and it goes back and forth. At first, she's holding her own, but then they start to kick her ass. But then, right when she's almost dead, and they beat the shit out of her, and they're like, oh, her cockpit is probably just like a bloody mess by now. She just gets back up and keeps fighting. Mm-hmm. And then she whips ass, and she does graphics at them. Yeah. And a lot of stuff happens. Yeah, and
then because this is how robot animes have to work, she's in pain, so her robot slumps to its knees instead of just like letting go of the cockpit to just like be sat in her chair. She pushes all of the buttons to outwardly express how much pain she's in.
Okay, I will say, I was about to make a joke about how it is funny how in robot anime, like, it's like once they get in the robot, they forget that the robot is not a person, but it is in fact being piloted and is not just the same as the person. Mm-hmm. But then I remember that in this game, the Omni Gears are brain controlled.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, you're right.
So actually, it makes sense. Although they were doing this the whole game.
They were doing this the entire game.
Yeah. No, it makes sense, but only because they got lucky.
Yeah.
Only because they coincidentally happened to write in a way that it makes sense. But whatever. Yeah. So she slumps, and does anything in particular happen besides they're just like, okay, cool, capture her?
So we go to another stage, and Fei and Saitan are there, and Krellian is like, the mother existence is what I've been searching for. Says, men, go recover that machine and place priority on the pilot's safety and preserve her life. Well, then I'll be off. You're pathetic. Meditate on your lack of power. And then graphic.
That's a good line. Oh yeah. So Graf is here, and yeah, he goes off on Fei basically. And
Yeah.
says that Fei sucks ass.
He says while he's reading Filth, he says it's not even worth the effort of putting a spineless wretch like you out of your misery.
Yeah, which is funny because it's like I kind of get it. He's like, you're literally my reincarnation. Can you please be better? He's like, you're embarrassing us.
Right.
I thought he was going to do the whole like, do you want the power thing at this point, but but he didn't. Yeah. The important thing of note here is the whole mother thing. So why did he make her fight? The reason is because Krellian clearly was wanting to like get some kind of data. So by watching Elly fight, he was wanting to figure something out. And what happens is, even though Elly does lose this fight, or she ends up being exhausted, they actually make it very clear that like she's phenomenally powerful. Like. At first she gets beat, but then she gets back up and fights more and more and more. So they're like,
she gets knocked down, but then gets up again.
But then gets up again, exactly. Ain't nobody gonna keep her down.
I don't know if you guys are fans of early 90s wrestling as much as I am, but she Hulk Hogan's. She's like literally about to lose, and then she just like shakes, and that's her power, and then she wins.
Exactly what she does. But yeah, so it's cool. So even though she does lose, the game does do a good job of being like, no, she doesn't get captured because she's weak. She gets captured because the bad guys are like all powerful at this point. She does amazingly. She's incredibly powerful. She's a hero, basically. Yeah. Which is good. I like that they do that because it helps because of how bad it is in every other way with her character. Yeah. At least it's not just like she sucks and she's a woman, she got captured, you know? So because she did such a good job, Krellian has now confirmed, I guess because she probably achieved like 100% sync with her gear or some shit like that. So Krellian finds out that she really is the, quote, mother that they've been looking for all along. So there's this preternatural mother they've been looking for. Oh, also at an earlier Brain Ball scene, they do refer to Miang as the mother. So earlier when they were like, we don't need Elly as the mother, we already have a mother. That's who they meant. They meant Miang. But turns out Elly is like, a better mother, I guess. Yeah. So the point is they need her for their evil plan.
My read of it is Miang, like Ramses, was made to be a mother, and then there's like, look, we got the real shit. What if we just stole the real one?
Yeah. Yeah, because they were doing all this genetic engineering, but then like reincarnation happened, and they're just like, oh look, we found Fei and we found the mother. Cool. We could have just waited for that to happen instead of putting all this work into it. Could have been lazier. But yeah, so that's why they kidnap her, because they for sure need her for their evil plot. And all the good guys are like, well, damn, they kidnapped Elly. We don't know what Krellian's plans are, but dramatic anime pause. If they had glasses, no, Saitan has glasses, he probably dramatically pushes his glasses up on his face with his middle finger at this point. And the glasses flash, like in the animes. And then Fei's like, but we intend to find out.
Yeah.
And then Luna's like, do you want to save?
And we saved. But yeah, that was the first half-ish of Disc 2.
Yeah, I was thinking it was significantly more than the first half, but I also do know that at some point in this half, you actually do get to freely go on the world map. Yeah. At some point in this damn game. I do want to mention something to both of y'all. There is I think I mentioned this already, there is a major side quest in this game. A major optional quest, an optional dungeon. It involves Emeralda. I think it's good, and I think it's important to the plot. It doesn't take that long. The timing that we've been looking at for the long plays obviously would include that in it. So for the rest of the game, we're just going to be following the cutscenes and going where the plot says to go. But if someone mentions like, hey, we should go to the underwater city of Zaboam again, you should do that. Okay. I really don't think it. I'm sure it's probably like in half an hour max, right? Cool. Like you go through some dinky dungeon and you see some dinky cutscenes and whatever, and then some plot shit happens. I'm almost positive it's optional, so that's why I'm mentioning it now. Oh yeah, no, it is optional because Bernard already beat the game and he didn't do it.
and I saw in the walkthrough, because I've been reading the walkthrough to kind of get the gameplay side of the thing down, to be able to talk about that, even though I still barely talk about it. But I in that one it does have a pause, but like, hey, this is optional, but you should definitely go and do this.
So. Yeah. Cool. Other than that, The rest of the optional stuff doesn't matter. For some reason, you end up being able to go back to Nortune and do the fighting game mini game.
Nope.
No.
Not a chance.
You can just fuck off and do Robo Tekken instead of saving the world from God, which is weird. That's pretty much it, though. It's basically like the final disc of Final Fantasy VIII, where it's like the whole world map's there, but you go to any location and it's like there's nothing. You can't enter this location, or nothing's happening here. It's empty, right? Everyone died because the world's population has mostly been fucking eradicated at this point. So it's just the world is just an emaciated husk of a world that you can nonetheless fly around on anyway. Oh man, I love earlier when the nanomachine Aurora Borealis is happening. I love how it's like, yeah, and then you see a montage of the nanomachines raining down on the 5 locations in this game. This is one of those games where it's like, we did not need a world map in this game.
Yeah, they really didn't.
Like, the locations are big and beautiful and amazing, but that's because there's like 7 of them.
Yeah.
It makes the world feel so tiny and empty because it's just like there's these whole land masses where just nothing is going on.
Yeah, and some of them I can tell. Like, there's one up in the like northwest that obviously is where the Hadron Collider was supposed to go because it matches like her shot of the dungeon, but it's not there because they didn't get the chance to go there. But
yeah, I do think one of the conspicuously empty parts of the world map is going to have a location on it in Disc 2. Once you get able to go on the world map, you're like, oh, that's why that place was empty, because there's going to be something there later. But yeah, for the most part, it's like this game just doesn't have enough locations to warrant having a world map. You fly around and you're like, okay, this entire quote-unquote region of the world is an orphanage, a boat, and a church.
yeah,
not even a town, just an orphanage, a big town boat, a church, and a tower dungeon. And it's like, yeah, that's half of this world's landmass.
Yeah.
Good stuff. But yeah, so we're done for the week. So
want to know what's hilarious?
What?
So in the walkthrough, it'll pop off, like, it has sections of the walkthrough, which at this point we're up to section 74. But when those line up with a chapter, it'll say when the chapter changes. On section 74, it says both chapter 57 and chapter 58, because chapter 57 is the cutscene that gets you into chapter 58, and that's it.
Wow.
I love that.
That's so good.
Yeah, it is. This game is fucking weird, man. But yeah,
we forgot to talk about the most relevant main thesis of this game is that all of the shopkeepers that you've ran into in the dungeons is this guy named Johnny Shopkeep, and he feels it's his destiny to be a shopkeeper in the bottom of the dungeons.
That's so. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. Yep. He's like every robot is programmed to fight, but we all fight in our own ways. I fight by being a shopkeep. And he's especially important in Disc 2 because you never get to actually freely go to a town or anything. So if he wasn't there, it'd be really bad.
Yeah, he's the true savior of this.
It's like, hey, I hope you bought enough Zeta Sols in Disc 1. Yeah, so luckily this robot's here to sell you shit. And make sure he brings you low prices. Doesn't matter if the world's fucking ending. Doesn't matter if everything's a zombie. It makes sense, because if everyone's a zombie and the population of the world goes down a whole lot, that means demand is going down a whole lot. So that's why he can have those low. That's why he has to sell at those low prices.
That's true. Yeah.
At the end of Disc 1, he bought a warehouse full of Zeta Sols, and then oh no.
On the other hand, he has because there's no towns or shopkeepers anywhere else, the only people who are shopkeepers in this entire world are Johnny Shopkeep, who hangs out in, like, Mahanan. He does have a monopoly on the entire market. So he could theoretically charge you, like, 2,000 gold for a single Zeta Sol, and you would just have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Damn it, that'd be, I want to put that in a game now. Right? It's like a convenience store. He's like, oh, I'm a shopkeeper in a cave in the final dungeon. Of course I'm going to charge you through the fucking nose for these items.
Of course my ramen is going to be 75 cents a pack. Like, why not? Like, you're going to buy it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so now that the hogs have truly gone wild, what are y'all thinking?
Like, so I was talking with Summer about it, and I think I don't like Xenogears. I think that's where I fall. I don't know what'll happen at the end. It might be brain ball explodey, cool, awesome. That'll lean me back up. But I feel it's like middle of the line for me. And it has a lot of really cool things, has a lot of really problematic things for me, both gameplay and Elly wise, that like put it firmly in the middle. But I also realize there's literally nothing even close to like this that has ever been made before or after. Even the ones that were supposed to like continue this thing going forward, like the Xeno games aren't like Xenogears in this particular way, and I can tell that. I appreciate all of that about it, but playing it, I don't think I would ever play it again, just because all the bad parts make me not want to do it again. But I'm glad that I finished it, which again is the point of this whole podcast. Is like when we get to Septerracore, like besides the fact that Star Carver Ace was like, oh my god, that's my favorite game when you were little. I don't think anyone's ever heard of Septerracore. It's probably bad, and it probably will be frustrating to play. But then we'll get the parts where we're like, oh, this scene was so great because Bart is such a great character or whatever. And like, that's kind of the point here. And I feel like Xenogears was the first one of these that accomplished that for me. Like I liked Rogue Galaxy more than I let on. I probably would play Rogue Galaxy again just to do it. But I don't think I would play Xenogears again, but I'm glad that I have played it.
Mm-hmm. Dude, it's funny. You said something very similar. Well, my favorite critic, Shinbard, that I'm always quoting. When he reviews Metal Gear Solid 4, which he gives 2 stars out of 4, he goes, towards the end of his review, he goes, "Do not mistake the following sentence for a compliment: there has never been and never will be another game like Metal Gear Solid 4." But I like how he prefaces it with like, "This is not an endorsement,"
right?
And I feel like that's basically what you're saying. Just what is there left to happen that will change your mind? There are some interesting twists. They're more contextual twists. I feel like you basically get the gist of it at this point, like what is actually happening. I think you basically get the gist, but there is some interesting context that I think makes it better.
Yeah.
Fei also still has yet to go on his Cloud Strife journey into the mind. Which I think is like probably the chapter entitled Dreams, chapter 59. I'm looking at the FAQ right now.
Yeah.
That's probably like an hour of mind cutscenes. And then the actual final boss and ending. I'm not saying the content is this or that. I'm saying just the way that it's presented and done is super good. So that's nice.
Yeah.
Just like every game, you have to defeat the final boss and save the day. And even if games are doing it doing the same tropey thing, some games can do it in a really exciting way, and some, like FF6, obviously, as another example, right? Like plot wise, you just beat the bad guy and save the day, but boy, did they do it with style, and this game definitely ends up winning in that regard, mostly because you get some. Oh, hold on. Okay, so Eli, you haven't played Chrono Trigger.
Nope.
Sam, have you played Chrono Cross?
I've played, I think it was all of disc 1. It depends on, I don't remember. I don't remember if I did the big thing that happens to you early on in the game. I don't know if I resolved that or not. I think I did, but I know that's right around the halfway point, so I don't remember exactly.
But you definitely didn't beat it.
Definitely did not beat it.
And you haven't beaten Xenosaga Episode 1 either.
I have not ever played I watched the first hour and a half.
Okay, so here's the thing. All of you, with the slight exception of Sam, are small wee babbies who have yet to experience the glory that is Yasunori Mitsuda final boss tracks. He is the god of final boss music, so get ready for that.
I'm ready for it.
Chrono Triggers is good, but in Xenogears, he hits his style. That is the style that he will continue to use for all of his final boss tracks going forward in his career. And oh man, okay, yeah, cool. I'm excited for you to hear the final boss track. It's really goddamn good.
Oh yeah,
cool. Yeah. So anyway, for the next, that's about it for the week. For next time, we're going to be playing from where we just stopped to the end of the game. The game doesn't have like a post game or anything. It ends with like the end, But if you need chapter titles, it's the chapters Promised Land through First and Last. The one that's called First and Last is the last chapter. It is not also the first chapter. It is just the last chapter. Don't get confused. So anyway, that's in case you need that. Just play until you can't play anymore. Is my advice for you there. Hopefully it's not too confusing. Anyway, that does it for the week. So if you're enjoying this podcast and want to help us cover hosting costs and game costs so that I don't have to pay money for whatever the next game we play is.
Which actually, as of this morning, Spiffle did not have to pay for Legend of Dragoon, but if you would like to pay for Legend of Dragoon, you can purchase it on the PS3/Vita/PSP because they all share it, virtual console, and it's $5, and it's a steal at $5 because it's the best game of all time, and I'm biased, don't believe me, but it's really good, well worth their $5 at the very least. And it got both a black and a green release, so those games go for like $15 if you go to an old game store or on eBay, so you can probably find it super cheap, legit, and not have to go to Emu Paradise, because I can say that now because it doesn't work. But
yeah, exactly. Rip. F.
Yeah.
So anyway, if I didn't have to purchase the $5 game. It's great, which is good. Because
we've made $5 so far.
So if you want me to continue being able to afford dinner and not have to purchase whatever game we play next, you should check out our Patreon at patreon.com/rpgbookclub. If you want to chat, we've got a Twitter at rpgbookclub. We got an email at rpgbookclub@gmail.com, and of course our Discord. No catch URL. There's a link in the description, though. Our Discord just keeps getting more and more folks, and it's just a good-ass time. Next week, we'll be finishing the damn game live. We always do a live, or try to do a live episode for the end of our podcast. We'll be watching Neon Genesis Evangelion all day. It's a really fantastic anime. I swear to God, it's not just for teens. I started rewatching it recently, and it holds up.
And I've never interacted with it whatsoever. Like, in my head, Evangelion and Escaflowne, just because they're both stupid words that start with E, they're the same anime in my head. And so, like, I am excited to finally be able to be like, okay, well, Escaflowne is the one I haven't watched. Evangelion is about blah blah blah.
The one I have watched. Sam, the especially for you as a film dude, the filmmaking is going to blow your damn mind.
I'm so ready for it.
The pilot episode, even though nothing even like happens in it plot wise, like. Aesthetically, like the composition and the shots and the pacing and the music, like I could watch the pilot episode.
Yeah, it's really good
every day.
It's one
of my life.
It's one of the few giant robot animes that I've gotten into, and I haven't seen the whole thing. I used to watch it when it was on Adult Swim, but I really liked it. And also the voice actor for Shinji is one of my absolute favorites, Ogata Megumi, who does the voice of Sailor Uranus.
Nice.
And Kotono Mitsuishi is I just flipped that name around. Mitsuishi Kotono, I should say, if I'm going last name first name. Anyway, that's Sailor Moon's voice actress, and she does a voice in there that sounds absolutely nothing like Usagi, so you wouldn't know it was her.
Nice.
Neat.
Yeah,
we'll probably be watching the dub, unfortunately, just because it's easier access for everybody.
Here's the thing. I was about to say that. I know, like, I'm sure the sub is good, but the dub, okay, the voice acting is not incredible, but it is... I really feel like the dub is the best way to watch it, mostly because, obviously, I know this problem is the case with every sub, but, like, the visual aspect of it is so fucking strong, you do not want to have to look at subtitles. Like... Yeah. That's way more the case in Evangelion than other things. I know that's sometimes that's a hard sell for people, but I was actually about to butt in and be like, I lightly recommend the dub, actually. Yeah, Shinji's voice is, like, people make fun of it for being, like, annoying and whiny, and it is, but it's also, like, very good.
I was going to be incredibly selfish and just say the dub, so if Scarlett needs to do something, I don't have to be looking at the screen.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Real dad hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I have a whole thing about subs versus dubs, and that you should support subs as often as you can, even if they're bad, and tell them to be better, because that's how anime exists. If you're cutting off the entire export market for anime, that's really bad for everybody around. But that's not my reason here. My reason here is I just want to be able to take care of my daughter and still pay attention.
No, that's fair.
Okay, Deb, it is. Yeah, so we'll be starting at 10 a.m. Central Time, watching around that or so, watching Evangelion all day, and I will not be participating in that because I will be working. Although maybe I'll catch the beginning.
Yeah.
And we'll end the evening with a live recording of our episode at a reasonable freaking hour for once. It's not going to be in the morning. 9:30 p.m. Central, which will be 7:30 p.m. for me. Right after work, I'll probably be recording at my office, which is funny. So yeah, come by, have a listen, hang out live. There might be some fun surprises. Yeah, and we're
asterisk, not guaranteed to win any prizes.
Oh,
yeah,
you know what?
they're just gonna.
It's perfect that we're doing that next week too, because I actually took a 4-day weekend, totally unrelated. So
perfect.
Yeah, nice. I'll be able to.
Actually, we might have, and I'm not sure. I hope y'all know what I'm talking about. We might have 2 big surprises, actually.
Oh yeah.
Oh
right.
Yeah.
Three big surprises, maybe. So maybe those asterisks aren't actually asterisks. So
we're just tripping surprises, basically.
Yeah.
Surprise! We played Undertale. Alrighty. That about wraps it up. I cannot wait to see all of y'all next week. So for RPG Book Club, I have been Michael Spiffle-Webben.
I have been Sam Allman.
And I have been Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
Love y'all.
Bye.
Bye.